Go Big Red indeed. No Block, No Rock. Season 2, episode 34. Coming at you live once again from the Nebraska Brewing Company tap room, 108th and Harrison in La Vista, Nebraska, representing the LV.
LV.
Drinking the shake and bake. Again. No shame.
Of course.
Mike hates it when we talk about it because we drink it all the time, don't we, Kyle?
We do.
Well, you know, we still have this great NBNR beer on tap. And we're not talking and giving ourselves love like we should be. But that Nebraska Brewing Company, no block, no rock, no Bach, no rock beer is on tap here in the tap room. They still have a couple kegs left, so come in and try it. But now let's talk about the Shake and Bake IPA.
Yeah, it's orange, vanilla IPA. Like we've said many times, especially Mike. Would you say it's the training diaper? Or something?
No, the training bra IPA.
Training
so
bra.
for non-IPA drinkers like myself
and me
and Kyle, like, especially Kyle, it's a very good starter beer to get you into the pine cone drinking beer like IPAs. So
you're such a simp.
Yeah, simp. Sure, call me a simp.
What do you got at Taco Besa?
I got the Taco Besa today. I wanted something simple, light.
Okay.
I don't want to go home feeling like I'm 300 pounds today. So that's just it.
That's the difference between you and me. So
yeah,
I like feeling heavy. Which I don't want to say that's like on topic.
Yeah, I was
on
just
brand with our guest.
I was just about to say, speaking of 300 pounds.
Speaking of heavy. Yeah, so guys, we joke, but seriously, come to the tap room, 108th and Harrison in La Vista, Nebraska. As they always say, world class in every glass. We have another member of the Nebraska pipeline.
Dude, we need I wish we had a sweet food sponsor that could get us a burrito or something that we could feed our pipeline, because with the amount of O-linemen that take their time to come on this show, they need something.
They need extra love.
And it's not QT pizza.
Yes.
No.
Which Mike did not touch, by the way.
Yeah, he's like, fuck that.
Speaking of, we said your name, Mike Moudy. Thank you so much for coming on the No Block, No Rock podcast. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate you having me.
So
excited to be here.
Yeah, while we were shooting the shit before, a couple weeks ago, we had Andrew Rodriguez on.
Big A-Rod. Okay.
Big A-Rod. And you said that you had a little story for us that you wanted to tell. So I'll let you get into that.
I got a good story for A-Rod, man. I can tell you what. I won't throw him under the bus on this one too. He'll probably be pretty proud of this. But I can't remember what year it was. We were heading in for practice. I think it was my junior year. We headed into practice, and for some reason, he pulls up in his car. I mean, he had a small car for a big guy, right? Like it wasn't a huge car.
Like a Honda Civic for a 6'5", 350 pound guy.
That's what I think it was.
He sits and it was
something small, something Honda. I mean, it was, and he pulls up and gets out, closes the door, and throws a couple F-bombs, and then he's like, "Man, I left my keys in my car." He locked his keys in his car.
Oh gosh,
we've all been there.
All right, yeah.
Right?
Everyone's done that. Now, what everyone hasn't done is this guy. And I'm telling you, we talked about the intangibles, right? And you got full on body strength. I mean, this guy could lift a house. In this case, he used his fingers, clawed open the door. So he clawed into the seal around the door.
Yeah.
And pried the thing back. So he literally bent it back off its hinge. Got his keys, closed it, and went in for practice.
Who needs a locksmith?
No.
Note to self, if your car is in the parking lot with Andrew, it's not safe.
I mean, and the guy just walked in. He had a big bear smile and just walked into the stadium. And that was that. And meanwhile, I'm picking my jaw off the floor.
Yeah.
Come on, man. What are you doing? You ruined your car. Yeah. A couple $100 there, but hey, he got his keys.
I think some people might need his number instead of calling the roadside service.
AAA.
He'll get you out of jam.
Andrew, pry my door open.
Yeah.
Well,
with your bare hands, please.
It's funny because he was talking about all these different careers that he's taken since he's played football. Why the fuck didn't he just go and be a locksmith?
Yeah.
But he's like, no, I'm not a normal locksmith. I'll just rip your fucking door open.
It's like the 911 for locksmiths, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But to be fair, I'm sure a lot of people don't want their entire door frame just
there's the low
peeled
demand
open
for that
like
type
a can.
of service.
the can opener hands.
That's my story for him. So
Okay, shout out to
pretty
Andrew.
mild, but man, that guy, love that guy.
Yeah.
It's great. Okay, so let's stick with this pipeline theme. NFL draft just happened. Cam Jurgens was selected in the second round, and he's a guy that, despite the snapping issues and all of that, he's really coming to his own. Like the last couple of years, I think we all kind of projected that he would be kind of a high round guy. What do you see from a guy like Cam Jurgens being a fellow offensive lineman yourself?
I mean, I love his quickness. The guy's got the hips that he can get around, and we all saw that highlight tape that they kept showing was him pole blocking, and running the guy out of the frame. I mean, that's what you look for. You look for a guy who can move laterally, but also vertically up the field pretty damn quick. That guy can do it. Then clearly his drive is there because he wasn't not finishing blocks when he's getting out of there.
He got a penalty this year for finishing a block, excessive blocking.
Yeah.
What are you doing there? I mean, that ref needed a slap or something because I tell you what, that's exactly what they coach. And I guarantee he didn't get in trouble for it.
Oh, absolutely not.
I guarantee it was they played the ESPN highlight tape down when it's practice time and showing that in game film. I'm like, man, that was a great block.
Well, honestly, we all watched the game, of course, and it's like you can't be mad at that.
No, nobody could be mad at that.
And there was actually a play earlier in the game where he got called for unsportsmanlike because he had blocked it due to the ground, and he was just a dude that was just kind of not taking. He kind of took the play off. It looked like, and Cam knocked him on his ass, and then he did the whole land on the guy after, and then he got called. It's like, I don't care. Like Nebraska's issues have been penalties and like kind of dumb things, but those two things I don't really count personally because it shows 100%. It shows aggressiveness, and we all want that.
Yeah, so. I want you to kick their ass. That's the whole point.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and we asked Andrew this a couple weeks ago, since we're on the pipeline O-line mentality talk. Okay, so we got a new offensive line coach, and we're going from a more of a conservative blocking scheme to an aggressive blocking scheme. We're gonna initiate contact now. We're gonna initiate the blow. Can you talk about? I mean, I know Andrew talked a little bit about it a couple weeks ago, but can you talk about the blocking mentality for Mike Moudy when he was playing at Nebraska?
Yeah, that's an interesting concept of itself. I've never really heard of, we're actually going to go out and push some guys around.
Yeah.
That's a little odd, right?
That's how we felt. Yeah.
And I've been, I've taken a year or two off from getting way too into the Kool-Aid drinking. But anytime you say that and you're going to go out and get some guys, all right, I'm all in.
All right.
But at the end of the day, I mean, you're going to have that come and get me scheme in everything that you do. Mm-hmm. I mean, with us, we do slide protection and we do man protection. I mean, there's an instance where you're going to run, pass the ball. For the most part, though, you got to be run heavy. And that's what's good. I mean, I can't really answer that question because I don't really know that mentality of now we're switching it up. I mean, you should always be in that mentality to go get some guys. Linemen love to run block. You should not love to pass block. Pass block, you can get some highlights and hit someone's ribs. But run blocking is where it's at.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, the justification for the Greg Austin style kind of sucks to say that for him because I'm sure he's like, what the fuck? What? I'm just doing what we did at UCF and Scott brought me on and whatever. But we'll just call it the Greg Austin scheme where the justification was, it's less risky. You probably have guys who aren't as talented as the defensive linemen that they're going up against, so it's less risky. Because when you attack, right, it's more risky, and you could get swum or whatever, ripped. Even though that still happened,
it's so tough to explain.
It is.
I don't know, but that was the justification. It was less risky, and
I don't mean to talk down about those boys up front, but man, those last couple of years, I mean, I don't know about less risky. I mean, what wasn't risky? I mean, sometimes it was like a sieve, and everyone's coming through. And you're like, how the heck are they getting the quarterback in like a second and a half?
Yeah.
Well,
and that's when your running back should be catching the ball. Like, come on now.
Yeah.
Well, it's just tough because, and we've said this so many times. It's like Scott overthinks the the game in front of him.
Yeah.
Like, so if there's like a high percentage play, like 90% of the time this is going to work, he's going to take that 10%. He always does that, right? And we've seen that since he's came to Nebraska. Back to what you're saying, yeah, it's like, okay, all these guys are getting through. Why the fuck are we not running a screen?
Yeah.
Why are we still trying to run a screen, or a swing pass? Why are we still trying to, execute these long developing plays when we don't have any time to throw the ball? So, yeah, I don't know if it's play calling, but now that we have a new offensive staff in there, maybe that will change. We'll see.
Right. Hopefully it's less cute.
Yep. Just run
Well,
it at
that's
them.
the thing, guy. I mean, football's simple. Like, football is a simple sport, and it should be. I mean, there's only so many variations that you can run that's going to catch a defensive coordinator off guard.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, do something that works. The thing that ticked me off these past couple seasons was the fact that we had no red zone offense.
It was so bad.
And that's where you put up or shut up.
Yeah.
We shut up a lot. Like, it was like, come on, guys. I mean, you've got a 6'9" tight end, and you can't get him on a crossing pattern across the middle.
You can't just
It's
loft it up and
six
see what
steps.
happens.
Yeah.
It's 6 steps.
Like, he literally doesn't even have to jump for the ball, and he's taller than everyone out on that field.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what irritated me. I'm like, man, we have no consistency down here. And like you said, we've got a lot of moving parts.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to get the ball out. We're trying, it just doesn't work. And that's the one area that I'm a little chapped at these last couple of years. Other than that, I mean, we can talk ad nauseum about everything else, but man, that red zone, that's where you make it.
Yeah, and I think just in my mind's eye, I'm picturing at Minnesota, they're on the shotgun, and it's like, go under center.
Just fall over.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah. And then you from that formation, then you see the shovel passes up the middle, and you start seeing all this cute shit, and it's just like,
Why?
Oh,
The year
It's
before
cute
with
shit, and then
Wandale.
they shovel it right into the defense, and they're running it back on it. I'm like,
yeah.
God, come on, guys.
Yeah.
Enough about last year, 3-9 and close. We don't talk about that.
Let's talk about bowl game winners and like guys that actually won games at Nebraska, right?
Yeah.
That's might as well just be a cave painting at this point. Mike, let's talk about your journey coming to Nebraska. You had played in high school in Colorado, and I had read when you came on your visit here, like there was no contest between Nebraska and any other school. What separated Nebraska from every other place that you considered?
So for me, really, I mean, I started it out. I didn't play football until 8th grade, right?
Wow.
So I was homeschooled up until 7th grade, technically. 7th grade, I went out for 7th grade basketball. If you know anything about me, which you probably will now, horrible basketball player, right? I mean, I'm not even kidding. When I was in high school, I basically fouled out every game. Half of it was just because I wanted to be aggressive. The other half was I didn't want to play anymore, right?
That was your way of being
It's
taken
too
out.
much running.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. Like get me out of the game. I'm gonna, at least I'll make it look good. I had a kid's mom yell at me because he tried driving up the middle, and I just laid him out. And she was cussing up a storm, like cussing at me, and I just smiled at her and went back. I'm like, all right, I'm out.
Somebody get this damn guy a football helmet.
Right. So that kind of started it. And then 8th grade, I mean, 7th grade was just flag football. I never went out for that. So 8th grade was my first year, and I actually enrolled in public school. And so that was the first taste I got of ball, and I loved it. And I was a tight end there. I was a tight end up until my sophomore year of high school, right? So believe it or not, looking at me now, then I was, barely anything dripping wet. I mean, it's just this tall, lanky guy, perfect tight end.
Yeah.
Problem was, going back to the basketball thing, I had no coordination. Right?
Oh, no.
So you try and get this guy out. I came into my own that end of my sophomore year, and we played in the state championship. I got a couple balls thrown at me and caught a couple, but that wasn't where it was at. So telling this long story, but the entire reason I was connected to Nebraska. So my head coach, Coach Ketron, Jeff Ketron, guy's phenomenal guy. He coaches at he was at Douglas County when I was there, and then he went to Chaparral when I left. Amazing man. And I credit him for everything that I've done, even my mentality today with kind of how I approach life. Guy's great. But you need someone in your corner when you're being recruited that can help you wade through the BS that's out there. I have no idea. I can't really speak to the landscape now. We're going to, but
Who can, dude?
right. You don't know. There's so many moving pieces there, and kids can get distracted like crazy. So he was great at like fleshing out, hey, you don't want to go to this camp. You don't want to do that. Like, we're going to grow this organically and get attention to you. And he took it upon himself to reach out to all these schools. So a guy, I don't remember the connection, but they were connected at Wyoming, Ted Gilmore, right? So Gilmore came out here. He was a coach at Nebraska, and that's kind of how the connection started. So we started sending him attention. They came in. Kansas State was there, Texas Tech, Vanderbilt, Stanford, Northwestern. Like, those were all schools that we had offers from. And he had made the switch to line. I mean, that was what the demand was. And so I put on a bunch of pounds going into junior and senior year, and we had a phenomenal career doing that. And then I kind of narrowed it down. So me and my mom, we would go on these road trips and basically just do like a big circle of the Midwest states. I had wanted nothing to do with Colorado. The only thing that I kind of liked was when Fairchild was at CSU, Coach Fairchild. Okay. He was all right. He's decent relationship with him. I wanted nothing to do with Dan Hawkins when he was there. Right. I mean,
Why
grew
is
up.
that?
It had to do for my dad. We used to watch pipeline videos growing up. And I still remember Scarlet and Cream, the pipeline, right?
Yeah.
Like those, he would watch highlights, right? Those are the guys you wanted to be like. And that always just stuck with me. And I still remember seeing Sue steamroll Cody Hawkins.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about paintings. There's paintings of that. I mean, right?
I think we might make that into a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Might need to.
Oh yeah, that pick six when he just straight stomps on him. He says like a fly.
Yeah,
It was
literally.
like he sought out contact. I mean,
Oh,
he
yeah.
ran at the guy. He's like,
yeah.
this is going to be fun.
Yeah, he was not running
smoke
away.
him.
No.
Broke his face mask with his thigh. Man. So, I mean, growing up, I just hated CU, and I just wanted to see him go down. So that was when when I was being recruited, we were in Big 12. And I love Big 12 ball. The Texas, the Oklahoma, the rivalries that were out there. So I started building a relationship with Barney Cotton. Barney would come out and visit with me, and then Coach Gilmore would come out. So they'd kind of rotate and come and watch games and stuff like that. I built a really good relationship with Coach Cotton. And that was the thing. It's like all these recruiters, like, you don't build a relationship with the head coaches or anything. You build it with your position coaches, which is great. I mean, if they get out on the trail, you can have a great one-to-one relationship with them. And that started with Coach Cotton. There were a couple others that were up there. Ricky Ronnie, who was the running backs coach at Kansas State, right? So I had Kansas State was high on my list. Stanford was high on my list. That was when Harbaugh was there.
Mm-hmm.
Northwestern, love Fitzgerald, great guy. And Kansas State and then Nebraska. Those are my top five that I was narrowing it down. So I visited all those schools and that was when Snyder was taking over K-State. There was a good tradition there, but it just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
Came out for a spring game. We did a couple visits. So I did a couple spring visits to watch some football, and they rolled out the red carpet here. I mean, it was a family, but it was just, I mean, you guys know, you grew up in this stuff.
Yeah.
I never seen anything like it. I mean, I had the Broncos, I had CU, I had CSU. Like, there was never like this one big team that everyone rallied around.
Mm-hmm.
So the fishbowl mentality is when you came into this. And I ate it all up. I loved it. I was like, man, this is a great spot. It was 8 hours from my house. So I didn't in Colorado. So I was still away from home. Right? I didn't have to worry about
Just
that.
far enough away, right?
Just far enough away. Sorry,
away.
Mom and Dad. I could have some fun and break free of that a little bit.
Yeah.
And I narrowed it down, and we just kept looping around these schools, and I started narrowing it down. I was like, all right, Nebraska, Kansas State, or Stanford. So when we came out for the spring game, we did the spring game and everything. And funny story about that. So me and my mom, my grandma actually had a Prius, and we're trying to save money, right? Like, we had Jeeps and everything like that. And we lived on a quarter horse ranch out in Colorado and all that. But we're like, all right, we're going to save money on this trip because we're driving a lot. Let's just take the Prius. It's spring. There's no weather.
Yeah.
Right. We can see where this is going. So we get out here, have a great visit. I mean, weather is awesome, nothing bad. And then we're driving back, and that's when the blizzard hits.
Yep.
Oh,
so
God.
me and
Naturally.
my mom, I mean, we're stuck in this pop can going down the highway, and these trucks, those semis, they don't slow down.
No,
They
they'll
don't care.
blow you off the road.
Oh, they don't care.
Yeah.
And whiteout. I mean, you can't even see anything.
They got a job to do, man. Get out their way.
I can't
your
blame
little
them,
pop can.
but let me be in something, a couple tons or something, right? Like give me some meat that I'm driving.
Something that that I don't weigh more than.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I'm driving down the highway and this fly and these cows or something are flying past me. I'm like, what the hell are we doing? So that was my story there. But on the way back, I mean, it was just the atmosphere and everything. And I had a visit scheduled to fly out to Stanford the following week and visit with Harbaugh. I mean, you can't really say no. So what happens in the recruiting process when they offer you, they send you the annualized amount of those 4 years at that school, right?
Stanford.
Stanford
Pricey.
I mean, it was almost $500,000.
What?
Showed up there. That's what I have. All these letters that I have in this binder. That was the offer letter that was on there. So when you're looking at that, I mean, anyone that comes out of Stanford, you're set for life.
Oh yeah.
I just couldn't wrap my head around the Cali living, right?
Yeah, that's not.
Shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it was crazy. And so we had that schedule. And coming out of that, I had a conversation with Coach Cotton. So this is ending the spring game. And I just felt it in my gut. I was like, this is a place to be. I mean, it was just the atmosphere was incredible. I mean, that was when we were, packing the stadium, right? And it was amazing coming out of that. And I talked with Coach Cotton afterward. I'm like, I think I'm ready to roll. Let's do this. So I committed to Coach Cotton, committed to Coach Bo, and we drive back, hit the blizzard, and then I'm on the way back. What I'm doing is calling all these coaches, right? So I'm calling them, letting them know that I'm moving on, saving them some time.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas State took it the best. Like Coach Ronnie, I still got respect for him. I don't know where he's at now, but my God, the guy was awesome. He was like, I understand, I respect your decision. The appropriate response.
Right. Oh yeah.
That's like what a grown ass man should say, right?
Consensus, right?
Yeah.
You know, a couple of us are in sales and stuff like that, right? We get rejected. We're not saying F you or whatever.
Right.
We're
Thanks
taking
for the
it
opportunity.
You
amicably.
can't completely burn
Right.
bridges. You gotta keep.
Exactly.
You never know.
I mean, in
right?
this day and age, if you got the transfer portal,
Yeah.
shoot, just keep my card. You're
Yeah.
good.
You
Yeah,
would have
I'll
remembered
see
Coach
you.
Ronnie, right?
Yeah.
You'll see you next year.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Exactly.
I'll see you in 2 years.
The recruiting doesn't stop for them. So he was great. Snyder was great. Fitzgerald was awesome. You know, just telling those guys, letting them down. And then I call Harbaugh.
Uh-oh.
And Harbaugh, I'm not kidding you
Oh,
guys.
man,
like that solidified my decision. Like I ended that call and I was like, screw this guy. Like I made the right damn decision coming here. Because he literally immediately pivoted into talking shit about Nebraska.
Really?
It was like, God, this is the biggest mistake of your life. You're gonna regret this thing. This is horrible.
Yeah. Okay. So this was 2009.
2009. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
And I committed early. I mean, it was the spring going into my senior year. It's because that's the thing. I wanted my senior year to be its own thing. Make
No
my own
distractions.
memories, no distractions, right? Which I think will play into our NIL conversation down the road. It's just you want that last year of high school to be distraction free.
Yeah.
And so I committed. I was ready to go. And that combo with Harbaugh really left a sour taste in my mouth and just got me motivated. I was just, screw this guy. I mean, I won't tell you exactly what he said. You can use your imagination. But I'm sitting there in the car with my mom on speaker. I'm like, all right.
And so she just said, all right.
We hung up. She's like, sweetie, you made the best decision in your
Yeah.
life. She's like, that's the way to do it. I'm like,
Hell
oh,
yeah.
Let's do it.
That's
I'll
wild,
be right,
man.
baby.
That is wild.
Wow.
Because
Yeah.
at that time Harbaugh's not even playing Nebraska.
No.
So you can only imagine what they're saying now.
But he did play for Michigan. And
Michigan man.
yeah, and they did have to share some natties with Nebraska. So
That's true. That's true.
Well, yeah. I mean, Harbaugh's a guy that's known as he goes to a place. He's pretty successful.
Yeah.
But in that success, there's some rough around the edges type of attitude, or I don't know, just way he goes about things on a daily basis, and he doesn't really last long at every place he goes. I mean, that's the reputation for what it's worth. I obviously don't talk to him. I don't know. But based on what you were saying, I could kind of see that.
Well, all I can say is NBNR is totally down for the fist fight that was set up by Bussin' with the Boys and Will Compton.
yeah.
That whole deal, like Harbaugh versus Frost, like set it up.
Who do you got?
Oh, I put Frost, man.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, you see Harbaugh out there in his khakis and everything. I'm like, all right, Frost probably got you beat there because that guy's still throwing around some weights, you can tell.
Yeah, I think the only thing I worry about with Harbaugh is that he's a crazy motherfucker. So like
Kinda
I
like
feel
the old man mentality,
Yeah,
you know? Like
yeah.
no one challenges the old guy at the bar because they know he could probably kick his ass because he has nothing to lose. That's
Yeah.
probably what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if Harbaugh was down, he just won't ever go out, because he's just fucking nuts. But that's just me. I don't
You
know.
make a valid point. I mean,
Yeah.
I can see that.
He'd be like the Jack Gangwish. Just, dude,
Leave me
give it
alone.
up. Leave me alone. Frost just like,
Turn
all
the
right.
dial down a little
It's
bit.
over.
Now that I've gotten my refill of no Bach, no rock, let's move on to NIL, transfer portal, all that crap. It's a subject that I don't typically like to discuss. However, Nebraska did just get a commitment from highly regarded #1 transfer portal player, O'Shawn Mathis from TCU. Big deal. Can rush the passer.
Fucking finally.
Yeah, we finally got one.
Pin his ears back. You know, that whole thing. So, and just to, keep going with this, we had Mike Farrell on, and he even said, I think I'm leaning Texas on this one. Wrong.
Horns down. Always.
Put him down, baby.
Thank
That's
you.
right.
That's
Thank
what we
you.
wanted right there. And like I look at this, and Nebraska, similar to what you said, parallels, rolling out the red carpet. Like they treated him like he was King O'Shawn.
Mhm.
And I know I'm kind of doing my whole Jared thing here, but I'm a little concerned because Nebraska has these highly regarded, classes, and I feel like sometimes players come in with the sense of entitlement. Not all the time, but I just feel like hopefully this doesn't end up as, O'Shawn's coming here. Like he hasn't made it any secret that he wants to go to the NFL.
Yeah.
And he feels like the Big Ten is the place, the conference that will help him do that better than the Big 12. You had played in the Big Ten yourself.
In the Big 12.
Yeah, so you've seen both sides. And so before we get to NIL, do you think his opinion in that matter, Big Ten versus Big 12, do you feel like the Big 12 is better preparing players for the NFL and all that?
You mean the Big 10?
Big 10, yep.
You want to say
Fuck.
that?
Big Ten.
Do you think the Big Ten is better preparation for the NFL than the Big 12?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, Big 12. There's just a difference in playing style. I mean, Big 12, they're the D linemen a little bit lower on weight, a little bit faster. Big 10, bigger guys and still pretty damn nimble. So yeah, I mean,
Nimble's
if
a
you're
good way to
looking
put
at
it.
NFL caliber stuff. Yeah, I'd say Big 10 all the way. I mean, you're going against these road graders that can move 4 9s and blaze past you. I would say he's not mistaken on that. That's for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, deals about his NIL
Oh
deal
boy.
is,
Oh boy.
we don't really know for sure, but the kind of baseline number that we settle on is the 500,000. Mike Moudy.
Here we go.
Just go.
Hot seat, baby.
Go.
Man, I'm telling you, my head always spins with this stuff. I mean, so backing up, when I was there, I didn't take anything for granted. Like it was awesome. You were literally being paid to go to school. Go to school, play ball, and that was it. I mean, you were earning your way. So I didn't see it as anything but that. Where, your scholarship check, you're making, I wish I could stretch $1 as far as I did there to what I do now.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you learn how to budget and everything. But in there, the NCAA was so freaking hardcore when I was there. So my story is you could have outside every time you do a weightlifting session or a conditioning session, right? They'd have these big white picnic tables and they'd have a bunch of loaves of bread. Like it was like Rotella's backed a truck up and just dumped all this bread out there.
Oh, nice.
The thing that's missing is anything to go on the damn bread. Because it was a violation. You'd ask anyone that comes on this, that was the thing. Guys would literally tote around. I never had to do it because I didn't have to make weight. Like I was a little bit overweight, right? Like I didn't have any problem keeping it. But these guys, talk to Jay Mitch or whatever, like if they've got like a weight gain plan, they're bringing their own freaking jar of Jif peanut butter or jelly or honey. And because it was a violation if you didn't bring yourself. You could have the bread, but you couldn't have the spread.
What?
That was what the world I was in. So when as soon as I left, they started changing things. The best thing that I ever got there was this thing called Husker Bucks, and it was initiated like my junior and senior year. So it didn't even happen the entire career there. And you'd literally get, I think it was like $15 every week. and you could let that thing load up. So I wouldn't touch it for like 3 or 4 weeks, and then I was dating my wife at the time, and we'd just go downtown. We'd save it up. We'd save up a couple of those checks. And just go downtown and go ham at Pickleman's.
Hey.
Really living the luxury life down there.
It was right. You get that Asiago cheese, like flatbread, and load up after a night of partying at the bar. I mean, come on, man. That's a dream. But that's the world I grew up in, was just like these little tiny things just started to happen. And when I stopped playing, it was like the floodgates opened. This was pre-NIL too.
Yeah.
Right. There were still talks about that it was happening. Mm-hmm. And it changed the entire landscape immediately. And I mean, they started first off, they got spreads, right? They started getting peanut butter.
Yeah.
They started getting all that stuff.
They started getting the premiums.
The first thing to go, right? And then they just started, they're getting like new uniforms, and they're getting all this social media stuff and all. I mean, it was mind blowing. I'm like, man, I wish I could have been there. Like, I wish I could have done that when I was doing that. You start getting that little jealousy.
You a little jealous?
Yeah. Well,
hey, are you mad, bro? You mad, bro?
A little bit. I'm a little bit mad, bro. Come on, man. I'm
mad, bro.
What do the kids say? Jelly, right? I'm jelly.
Yeah,
I'm jelly. Come on, man.
He wanted the damn jelly on his bread, and he's a little jelly.
That's all a guy was asking for. I mean, I was fine. I was stretching out my Scully check. I was going to the train, doing what I was supposed to do, and I just couldn't get the peanut butter for my bread.
You were being a good boy.
I was.
And,
that's good.
Now you got these guys coming in, like Oshan's sitting on like that king's chair with the balloons behind it, and he's like, "Oh,
VIP treatment."
You're like, if I could dislike a picture.
Oh my god! Just the social media these days. Like, I mean, I'm not a guy I don't post a lot other than family stuff. Like, I don't get into any of that.
You haven't touched your Twitter in like 2 years.
No, you have a wrong opinion. I didn't have one until my wife got one for me. She was the one that pushed me to make it, and then I didn't do anything with it. I just liked posts on her thread or whatever it is.
She's hot,
right? Like, I gotta show some initiative here, right? So yeah. I mean, you see guys like that are just milking it for attention. I mean, not necessarily Ochan or I'm not talking about that, but I'm just saying these guys are like, they're pampered babies.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to say that. Go ahead.
Well, and I mean, like, even before NIL was actually approved, like, Wandale was the face of Nebraska football.
Yeah.
And they were making videos for him, and he was doing tours of the university and stuff like that on Twitter. And the media team was just following him around and giving him that exposure.
He had the fucking keys.
Yeah, he did. He really did. And so, like, even before NIL, it was like these kids were building their own brands. I mean, they might not have been getting deals for it or whatever that we all know of, but it was like you were still getting your own brand and growing whatever it is that you had going for yourself for after college. Like, it was just, it's crazy that, you obviously missed out on all of that. Yeah. But I mean, you're right though. The social media stuff, like, that media team in Nebraska is the real deal. Like, they'll make some good stuff.
Well, that was the thing that was great about Bo, though. I mean, and there's some stories that guys had with social media, and I'll just say this name. You can ask someone else, but Toby Okayemi posted some lyrics about a rap song on Twitter.
Uh-huh.
We literally had a team meeting about it, and Bo puts the snapshot up there, and he's like, "What the hell is this, Toby?" And just dead silent, right? So that was the answer. It was like social media bad, and I was, I didn't want to have anything permanent out there that, if I put my foot in my mouth, I was an idiot, then you have a problem. So when you're out there and I started having Twitter and I started having Instagram and all that, and this is the last I'll cover it, but I never put anything out there, but I got some shit out there, right? Like, if you had a bad game, you pull up your phone, and that was the thing you dreaded. So I hated that instant gratification thing where it's like, I'm depending on someone else to make me feel damn good.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at my social media like, there is nothing positive that's on this after this game. Like, no one's saying good job, Mike. It's all bad.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah. Two missed blocks. It's fucking
and you're
over.
Done.
Hey,
it's
nice
over.
false start, asshole.
Yeah, great job.
Hey, good job holding that guy, dick.
Way to get tossed by Rashid Hagman. There you
You're
go.
right.
Good shit.
Hey, Jake Cotton, way to fall on your ass.
It just was never good. But yeah, seeing these guys just milk it and do that. I understand you're building a brand. I think that's the day and age that we're in now. But talking about NIL.
But I will say, you saying that you go on your social media after a rough game, these guys with the NIL deals, imagine the backlash they might face, right?
Dude, it's going to be rough.
You're making $500,000 and you didn't even get half a sack today.
Right.
And, it's not just about sacks, pressures and all that stuff. But, yeah, I feel like now players are making upwards almost $1 million and they don't perform.
And it won't be long, and I don't know if it's already happening or not, but it won't be long until teammates start turning on one another. Yeah. Why is he making more than I am and I'm producing more? Why is he getting this deal and I'm not? Yeah. There's going to be some serious stuff that comes out from NIL, but whatever.
Was there any McDonald's bags or anything?
No, honestly, we never
any
got
Pickleman's bags.
Okay, so on my recruiting visit, when I walked into my hotel room, I had a freaking cookie, like a cookie cake. That was the only thing. They knew how to lure in. I mean, it wasn't pretty ladies or anything like that. It was just a freaking cookie cake. I'm like, oh, this is the place I gotta be.
I've made it, baby.
Talking to the right guy for this stuff.
Oshan's like, I didn't get a cookie cake.
I know.
What the hell?
Bullshit. I got
one up on him.
Where's my cookie cake? That's awesome.
Oh man.
You had alluded to Bo Pelini.
Oh yeah.
And of course, Andrew came on a few weeks ago and he told his story about how he was thinking about transferring, and Bo said, "That'll be the biggest mistake of your
fucking
life."
His Bo style, baby.
His Bo style.
Oh yeah.
All up in your face.
You got a Bo story?
I do. I have one.
Let's go.
I have a good one, right? So I mean, I was a guy. I lived within the rules, right? That was the thing. You'll know about me. I was pretty straight laced, right? I wasn't really deviating from anything. So here's the way that you can describe Coach Bo, and he would say this: if you don't back me into a corner, we're best friends. Like we'll be fine. And he was a player's coach. And that's what I loved about him, because that's what my high school coach was, right? He's a gruff guy. He's very aggressive and just kind of, my high school coach had the small man mentality. Like he was, what is it? Small man complex or something, right?
Yeah. Little man syndrome,
right? Like he was ready to throw down if you crossed him. Bo was the same way, but it was just like, if you follow the rules and you don't F up, you're fine.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So the one story I do have with him where I didn't even cross him, which is very disappointing. But so Andy Janovich, right? Anvil head, baby. I mean, that guy could freaking break face masks like you wouldn't believe. So it was in the Iowa game, 2014, the Iowa game.
Don't kick it to DeMornay. Don't do it.
Nope.
Don't
do
punt.
it.
Don't punt.
Oh, it was horrible, man. We're just running this block and ski. I pull out, and I'm supposed to pick up the first guy outside, right? No ifs, ands, or buts, right? I pick up whoever I see coming off that tackle's ass, and I pull around, see the first guy, and I kick him out. And then apparently we get hit, and there's a fumble, and I fall on top of the ball, and then and then we're good. I get to the sideline, because I was a 3 and out. I get to the sideline, and Bo lights into me like you wouldn't believe. And like I was telling you guys earlier, right? The thing with Bo is he wouldn't get closer to you per se, but his nose would, right? Like his nose just seemed to get bigger and more in your face. And it's just, at a certain point, it's like sticking into your helmet. You're just taking it. And he's just spitting and hollering and snot's coming out of his nose and all that. He's like, why did you miss that block? And I let him get his steam out, and I just paused. I was like, Coach, that was Janovich's block. And I look over Bo's shoulder, and Jano's watching this exchange, and he just kind of melts into the bench, just kind of disappears. And Bo just stopped, froze, stared at me, and then just walked away. And I'm like, oh man,
is that his way of saying sorry?
He's like, I'm done. He never apologized, but he was like, I'm done. And we proved it right in game film the next day. I was like, that was Janovich, and I gave him so much shit. I was like, dude, I took one for the freaking team on that one.
I took so much nose.
Like, come on, man.
In that session, the amount of nose that I took for you, Andy. Come on.
Yeah. God.
Knowing what we know about Bo, I'm kind of surprised Bo didn't come up to you later and was like kind of make it a joke or whatever. Because he's, like you said, he's a player's coach.
Oh, yeah.
Run through a wall for him, right? And so I just kind of assumed that story to end with him kind of making fun of himself in a way.
Bo was good at delegating to his coaches, and Garrison let me know that it wasn't my fault, so I walked away.
Okay.
I was
You're good. Dude.
I was easy to let it go. I wasn't going to back him into a wall.
Now let me ask you: after that exchange with Bo, were there any other times that Bo got into you?
No.
And maybe that's why, because he's like, okay, I got after Mike that one time. My bad.
Maybe that was his
Mike
way of
knows
admitting
what
wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
He's like, I won't rip that guy again.
I won't put my nose in his nose next time.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing.
Thanks a lot, Jano.
Yeah.
Of all guys,
still salty
Janovich.
about that, man. He could have taken it, and he just didn't even come help me
Just
out at all.
melting into the bench.
Man,
Love it.
Damn.
I'll tell you what.
Can you talk about, were you I think you would have been on the team. Can you talk about that McNeese State game where Amir put the team on his back? And
Hey.
I heard the locker room interaction after that game was something to talk about.
It was bad, man. It was, but I mean, that whole game was like, it was just, I don't know what it was. We didn't necessarily come out flat, but nothing was going right. And it's just one of those games where you're just not clicking. Guys are on different levels, and it's just, one guy's pushing everyone back 20 yards, and then the other guy's getting knocked on his ass 15 yards back. Like, that was the type of game it was. So there were so many things happening. And to their credit, and I'll give that guy a shout. I don't know who it was, but their D tackle, the guy was, I mean, maybe 5'5" is what it felt like, but he was a freaking boulder. Okay, so I'm not saying they're ballers, but man, this guy, he was a load to get off the line, and just, I mean, that's just a testament to Amir though, and he knows what he did in that game, and that was all him. And I think that last run was fun because guys that was how it should have been the entire game. Was just going balls to the wall and just throwing blocks and throwing your body out there. I mean, you see Jay Cotton jumping over a pile. You see me burying a guy into the dirt. Like, it was just, that was the thing that you wanted. And the thing about Amir is he was as close to an NFL caliber guy as you could possibly get. Like, you had to hold the block for 2 seconds and he's by you. And that's what you want.
Right.
And so he put it, I mean, yeah, he put the whole team. I give him full credit for that game. But yeah, that interaction after, it was terrible. But it was just one of those that you just kind of, I mean, you don't tune out, but you already know. Like, you're as hard on yourself as you are that you're hearing it from another guy. And to his credit, he's the guy that can say it because he's the guy that saved our asses.
Yeah.
So everyone was, I mean, you talk about rapt attention. Like, guys are just, yes, sir. Like, all right, Amir, won't let you down again.
Yeah, was that Han that was talking about that? And it's like, when he talks, you listen, and like, he's not going to talk for no reason.
No.
It's a McNeese State, like you said. You're putting a guy in the dirt, and Spencer Long's jumping over guys, and it's like, that's the way it should have been. That should have been like, we should have recognized we're better than this.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yep.
It shouldn't have come to Amir having to make I mean, that run though.
Insane.
Do we even
it's
need?
Beautiful. If we were up by a couple TDs, that would have been a beautiful highlight reel.
It's still great.
It is.
It's like Michelangelo, man.
It's great for me.
Yeah. It's a low
That
light
boosted
for
his draft stock a little bit.
Yeah. And I mean, not to throw like my own story into that, but I remember we were like doing some clinical thing. I was at basic training at the time, and I had a drill sergeant that was a Texas fan, and this was very rare, but it was a Saturday, and he was on his phone. We were waiting to do something, and he's like, he said something about Texas. And so, of course, all of us were like, are you looking at the scores? Like, what happened today?
Texas.
And he goes, well, who are you guys fans of? And I was like, drill sergeant, I'm a Nebraska fan. And he looks at me and he's like, you guys beat McNeese State by 1 touchdown. And I was like, oh shit. Like, and the rest of the time in basic training, like, I was known as like the Nebraska fan, and he would take any opportunity that he could to dig into me and like, just say I'm just shit or whatever, it was.
Imagine if you would have been in that same camp last season.
Oh, I know.
I would have quit.
Oh God,
Would you have quit?
It would have been awful. I mean,
transfer portal.
There's a lot worse things that happen at basic training, so I don't know, but
yeah. At that point, that's where you can, whoever wins that day, college football game day, just be like, that was my team.
Yeah.
I switched.
How did Texas do?
Go
Drill
Bama.
sergeant.
Go Bama.
They
go.
would.
That's a good catch-all, right? Go Bama.
Yeah.
Yep. Mike said you would have entered the portal, but there'd be no NIL for your ass. There'd be nothing. No Picklemans, no cookie cake, no king's chair with balloons attached.
Yep. None of that.
So ever since Mike got you, Mike Delaware, got you scheduled for the pod, I'm doing my research. I'm like, okay, what can I talk about? I found a quote that you had said. No, it's not even that bad. I mean, in context of 2021, it's bad.
Okay.
Like really
build
bad.
this up a little bit,
like,
all right?
Like cancelable. Okay. Even though you're not on social media. Least favorite part of practice. You.
Oh.
Field goal. Field goal. I'm not a big fan of it. It's a huge part of the game, but it's funny because you just basically step and block guys, blah, 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 blah. Okay.
Do you remember saying that?
I do. Yeah. Unfortunately, I do.
In the context of 2021, worst special teams of all time, terrible at Nebraska. And so I just think it's a funny contradiction that you said, field goal it's the worst price. So just expand on that.
Yeah.
And just maybe expand on like how Nebraska can be better at special teams practice-wise. What can they do so guys like yourself, because I'm sure you're not alone in that.
No.
So how can they make special teams more of a priority and really emphasize, okay, guys, we're not effing around. This is serious. It wins or loses games. As you saw last year.
3-9.
3-9. Close.
15,
but 3-9.
15 and 29. So just throwing all the numbers out there.
Special teams is important. So what can they do to really emphasize that point?
I mean, I think that quote is stemming from someone who grew up in a Bo era where the little things were the things that mattered. Like that, and that was the thing. There was so much emphasis on the little things. You do little things right, big things are going to happen, right? We've all heard that quote. Our dads have all used that quote. I mean, that's what you hear. And I think about that because, yes, in the context of where we're at now, it's terrible. I mean, one thing you got to realize is like specialists are their own unit. Right. I mean, they hang out with guys and they do all that stuff, but they were just their own unit. They didn't really have to do a lot of practice stuff like structured things. I mean, we had a special teams coach that would help, but really those guys were we had Morrow Bondi, we had Sam Foltz. And the reason those guys were so damn good, right, was because they actually practiced when people weren't watching. I don't know. I can't speak to what the practice format is now. Right. But at the end of every practice, we would have special team sessions. Like they would build out basically 5 to 15 minutes where we do sessions. So when we're doing walkthroughs and all that, we would have a field goal session, right? Little things that done right. For an O-lineman, it's stepping 6 inches with your inside foot, hunkering down and kicking out both hands. Like that was what it was. Keeping guys' hands down, punching them in the nuts if they jump, right? That was your drill. That's what I'm talking about in that quote is because it's all right, one thing, you trusted the guy in the back to kick it because no one's going to get over. If they jump or hit the center, like you're fine. Mm-hmm. And I just laugh when I'm hearing that because now the struggles, it's just like we are so snake bit. And I think it's purposeful, but I think those poor guys in the backfield, we haven't really had a lot of, I don't know, have we had a lot of blocked kicks or anything? I mean, it's not much out of the ordinary.
I mean, last year, our opponents scored every way possible.
Okay.
So blocked punts, blocked PATs, blocked field goals. Like it was just, yeah.
The one that stands out the most is, of course, versus Iowa, where you had the game in hand and then the block punt with return for a touchdown and then done.
Not to mention that
goose cooked.
We find out later on that so you're up man in front of the punter based on which foot he kicks with. You need to have that guy on whatever side he kicks with, and we had him on the opposite side. And so to me, it's like that goes back into preparation and kind of what you're talking about. It's like, how does that happen? How do you let that happen as a special teams coordinator? How do you let that happen as just like a player on special teams? Because like you said, it's a unit, right? You probably do this every day.
And you need to know how you need to be protected. So it's like, you're looking at something and you're like, this don't seem right. Like, this is wrong.
Like, wait, during practice, you're supposed to be here. Hey, dude, it's a home game, so it's quiet on special teams.
Yeah.
Hey, get over here.
Yeah, move your ass.
Yeah.
Like, if you can't hear you, then smack him on the butt and get over here or wherever he needs to go. I don't know.
I mean, I think a lot of it, and again, I'm talking very conservatively because I don't know what the practice format is. Mm-hmm. But when you're looking at, when Frost first got here, his big thing was he didn't want people to have a sense of fear. Like they were okay to fail and they wouldn't have problems. There are guys that fits well with. Yeah. But in our era, it was healthy to have a little bit of that undercurrent of fear, right? So when I'm talking about field goal, right? Yeah, it's not the highest priority because it's not flashy, it's not a fun job. But if a lineman F's that up, you wouldn't play again. Yeah, is the thing.
Right.
Like we had guys that maybe would miss a punch. You would get ripped a new one the next week in practice. So there was that fear of like, yeah, we can go through the motions a little bit of just, not necessarily kind of having patty cake, right? But you knew when it was game time, if you let up at all, you're done. From an O-lineman's perspective, that's what it is. And I think that's lost a little bit. I went down, I did watch a practice. They had like an alumni event. We went down and got to see a practice. And I swear, for the last 45 minutes of the practice, 50 minutes, Frost was running them. And I've never seen that side of the guy. And it was honestly refreshing.
When you say running them,
He
like
was
as a punishment,
like gassers, like across the field. I mean, gassers. And because they had like this little brawl, and he went all in on you got to respect the guys that have played here before you. He went all in on those points. It was refreshing to see because I'd never seen a spark like that. Okay. So if we take anything away from this table, there is positivity in how he approached that. Because these kids, I mean, you let them get away with stuff, they will get away with stuff. I was the same way. But I also had that fear that was in the back of my mind on everything of like, if I screw up, it's going to be on game film. Coach G is going to rip me. Coach Cotton's going to rip me. And Coach Bo's going to rip me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So you got to have that fine line of fear versus not necessarily fear to fail it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I do think I like what you said, Mike. When you're talking about consistency, right? It's literally doing the maximum that you can fit into a practice and focusing on the little things.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it comes down to. I mean, there's no magic ball, nothing that's going to help with this. It's guys just gritting down and doing what needs to be done, and people holding them accountable. You miss a field goal in practice, do it again. That's what we did.
Mm-hmm.
You just
Run
do
it again.
Run it again.
Do it again.
We're going to get 3 in a row. Right? Bo would have competitions with the kickers. He'd be like, all the kickers would kick. Whoever had the best one won. Like it was just, you can make it to where it's fun.
Right.
But I'm telling you, the consistency thing is mind-boggling for me in these last years. It's just like, we are so snake bit, and that's where I don't know where coaching ends. And I think you guys covered this in the other ones, where coaching ends and personal accountability starts.
Yes. Yep. Love it.
Right.
Yep.
I just think there's something missing there in this day and age, and I can't speak to it because I didn't have this mentality. It was black and white. I committed a year early, right? I was set. I didn't have any distractions. I was ready to go. When I was here, I was bought in. It didn't matter if I wasn't going to play or not. I was going to stick it out, right? Nowadays, I don't see that with these kids. I feel like they've got too many outs, and I feel like there's not a lot of accountability. And there's a fine line that coaches have to play with the guy who wants to be pandered to
Mm-hmm.
versus the blue-collar guy that comes in and wants to work.
Yeah.
And piggybacking on what you just said, back when you played, your coach recruited you and you were committing for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Now, coaches have to recruit their players to stay committed for each year. It's 4 1-year deals.
Yep.
So you got these guys and you're like, okay, this is what my roster is going to look like. But now it's, hey, I got to make sure that, Garrett Nelson's happy. I got to make sure Cam Taylor-Britt's going to be back. I got to make sure my quarterback's going to be back. You have to keep recruiting even though they're already a member of your team.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even imagine Bo having to do that.
Right. Oh, I mean, and the ass ripping that we've heard of from all the Bo players that we've had. I mean, granted, every single one of them has said they'd kill somebody for Bo Pelini, right? But like you said, Mike, I can't imagine after walking to the sideline and getting your ass reamed like that, probably a few times a season, having to keep them happy and like not just entering the transfer portal and being like, I could play somewhere else and not go through this. You know what I mean?
Yelled at. I don't want someone to hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
Well, see, I think there's a problem here because, I mean, it just, like I said, you got too many outs. And this was the whole argument behind NIL was coaches have a free out, right? If they get canned, they can go anywhere else.
Yep.
Right? So if you mess up or lose your job or whatever, you've got a free pass. Yeah, those are the guys that are making $7, $8, $9 million a year, right, in these contracts. And the players had nothing. I mean, it was like if you weren't a starter, you had to put up or shut up or you're on scout team for the rest of your career.
Mm-hmm.
And we had guys, that's what we grew up in that era, that guys were okay with that.
Ron Kellogg III.
Exactly. Great example.
Yeah. The dude was a backup his entire career.
Yep.
Third string.
Hey, he made that throw though.
And
yeah, he
he's
did.
got the name
and he
now.
got the pay. He got the payoff for waiting and working for that long.
Well, and that breeds success in itself because guys see that. And we talk a little bit of, I've got the story that I'll share at the end about Jack, but you've got these different leader personas, like guys that just kind of rise to the top that everyone can listen to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all backed up in some way, shape, or form by something they've done, right? It's not necessarily a fear, this guy's bigger than me or whatever. Those guys would get put in their place if they weren't proving it in some way, right? So you got these guys like Kellogg, right? People would listen to him because the guy was a genius. I mean, the guy, and he made it fun for the O-line, and he had your back, right? That guys loved blocking for him. And that's the thing with the O-line is that don't piss us off. If you piss us and your offensive player off, Amir could get away with it because Amir would outrun anybody. So it's like he could get away. But, you got your QB is they got to have that fine line of taking care of their guys. But I just think that NIL stuff, you just got so many points of exit that no one's focusing on the here and now. And the money thing, I mean, I say I'm jealous about it, but I'm not really, because I don't know at that age what I would be doing with it. I'd like to think that I was smart and I was saving it for if I got hurt, which is one of the excuses for this program.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, these kids are just going somewhere where money's being flashed around. And we're obviously we're seeing the benefit of it.
Right.
With
Nebraska flashes it just as much as anybody's.
Exactly.
You have to.
Supposedly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And hey, don't hate the player, hate the game.
Yeah.
Hey.
It's all in the game, baby.
And we won this round. I mean, it's like, all right, let's feel good about ourselves. We got the deep pockets that are willing to pay for that stuff.
Yeah.
Let's take advantage of it.
Do it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And I mean, talking about like leaders and stuff that are basically just basing themselves off of what they accomplish. I mean, you look at Sam Foltz.
Yeah.
That position of anything on a football team, how many places can you say like the punter was one of the biggest leaders in a program? Like, it's just bizarre, right? But the way that he presented himself, the way that he handled his business, and the way that he performed on the football field gave him credibility in that locker room, and everybody followed him and everybody loved him. And then after he passed, the whole state mourned because he was our guy. He was like the face of Nebraska football. And so, yeah, I think that's a really good point.
I think the big detriment that people aren't really addressing is, like you said, Kyle, it's the fact that these players come in, they've already got that sense of entitlement, sometimes so much so that it's all me, right? Like, I was a little nervous with our new QB, Casey, right? Because there was a lot of stuff that was being touted about him. And I'm sure he got some awesome NIL deal and all that, right? But that aside, when you come in, you can't automatically be a leader. Going back to what I said, you got to earn it. And guys still do that. I mean, there's still a bunch of guys on that team that have that team mentality, right? Where they want to succeed together. I feel like this NIL thing, the serious downsides is starting to separate those guys from the other guys, right? So you may be 5 stars and you may come in, but you're going to be hurt down the road because guys are seeing you in it for the money rather than in it for the culture or the team.
And great point, because here's the thing about a quarterback. And defensive ends like O'Shawn Mathis are kind of the unicorns, but you got to think as a quarterback, you are the one. And like you said, you have these whole other set group of guys who, quite frankly, they're not going to get paid as much. They're not going to get the hype and the love that the quarterback's going to get, or the hate, I guess, or the attention overall.
Right.
So, yeah, if you're the quarterback and you're going to be making $1 million, let's say, you're going to have guys around you that are making, I mean, not nearly as much. So, yeah, you got to be the glue that keeps everyone together. Earn that money, right? Don't be turning the ball over all the time. Don't be trying to lead if you're not speaking on the field.
Yeah.
Right? So,
well, and you can be flashy and all that stuff, but in the time where that counts of being a leader is you got to be not sort of the quiet guy, but get in and get your work done. So that would be my advice. If that guy was sitting here right now, if Mathis was sitting right here now, I'd be like, dude, take the money. Yeah. Obviously, take the clout that comes on social media, right? But stay focused. When you get in there and it's time to strap up for practice, take care of your guys around you. I'm not talking sharing any of that stuff. Right?
Yeah.
We're not talking about NFL getting buying the line Rolexes or whatever.
Right.
What I'm talking about is show up and be like a Levante David, right? Be quiet and get your work done and be a leader just by showing what your actions are.
Yeah.
Right? Show your love of the game. Show your love of the guys around you, because that's at the end of the day what the best thing about football is it's a group of guys. It's not an individual game.
No.
Brotherhood, right?
It is.
Camaraderie.
100%. And that's what I personally love about it. And that's what I loved about it since I started playing it. But I think if that guy was sitting here, that would be my advice to him, is take all the stuff that comes with it. Enjoy it. I mean, it'll only last for a little bit. And who knows? Who knows what happens down the road. But while you're here, take care of your guys with you. Like, bring your guys along with you.
Yeah.
And you'll be fine.
Exactly.
Okay. So are we good with the camera and all that stuff?
Yep, we're all good.
Okay. So I think this will kind of be like our concluding segment.
Yeah.
You are wearing your Aces Impact polo shirt. Pretty fitting for this next kind of topic we'll talk about. So your son passed away unexpectedly back in 2019.
2019. Yep.
Excuse me.
April 2019.
And so to pay tribute to that, to Ace, the softball team had kind of rallied around you guys, and they helped build this new facility out in Bowling Stadium. Just kind of go into a little bit about that, paying tribute to your son and what that entailed and who was involved and all that.
Yeah, so Ace was my firstborn, and I'd actually met my wife at school my sophomore year when we had summer classes together. She was a softball alumni, and so we both have kind of grown up in that student athlete atmosphere, and we hit it off really well and got married. And Ace was our firstborn, and you know he was 19 months old, healthy kid, happy kid, the best we could have been blessed with as parents. And we took him down for his first game. It was April 5th. We took him down to Bowling Stadium, and we were it was just the perfect day, right? It was the best day ever. Playing with him on the third base berm, you know, watching the game, catching, you know, the players throw out these softballs right before the game. He got a couple. I mean, it was a perfect day. And we were driving home, and you know, we called our parents and all that. It was just like, man, this is awesome. We got to come down to do this more, because we hadn't had a lot of interaction with the university since we'd both stopped. I mean, life goes on. And you know, woke up the next morning, and I found him. I found Ace passed away. And you know, in that, kind of stemming from that, I mean, you don't really know how to act. I mean, everything's numb, and you're just kind of going through the motions of life, not really knowing where to start. And coming out of that, in that term, I mean, we always knew that was his last day. That was his spot that he, you know, that was where he spent his last day. That was what was coming out of it. We're like, we couldn't get over that fact. And my wife's coworkers, Katie and Jen, I'll give them a shout out. We'll throw out a shout out for them.
Mm-hmm.
They called the university, and they were asking, they called the athletics department. They're saying, hey, what is something that we could do, since this was his last day on earth here? He spent it here being a Husker and all that stuff. What could we do to commemorate him, right? Mm-hmm. Thinking of something small like a plaque or something. And they got on the horn with Coach Revelle, and Coach Revelle was like, this is the perfect opportunity to show what Nebraska is actually about. And I mean, the reason we're sitting at this table is because it is a community.
Yeah,
right? You can literally go out and talk to someone and have a hour-long conversation, right? Everyone loves somebody, and everyone loves everyone, right? Like, it's a very close-knit community. And she came up with this idea. We're going to put a playground, a full-size playground, in the spot that Ace was playing on. So third base berm, and they're at Bowling Stadium.
Wow.
And it's called Ace's Place. And 3 years, I mean, it was a nightmare raising funds. God bless, we needed $75,000 to get this thing built. Me and my wife, the majority of it, $50,000 worth, was organic growth, right? So it was just beating the streets and doing GoFundMes and all that stuff. So we pretty much maxed out our community, right?
Yeah.
Second, third, fourth level connections, and just couldn't really ask for anything else. And then, of course, COVID hits, right? So everything gets derailed.
Yep.
Then the $150 million facility hits.
Yep.
Right? So all this attention is off this initiative, and we're discouraged and everything. We're coming up those 3 years. And then this guy comes out of the woodwork. His name's Jim. I won't say his last name, but Jim, he wanted to find a cause he could get behind with his wife, and heard about this initiative from the athletic department, and he put up the final 25 G's.
Wow.
Jeez.
Put the nail in it, and we called it good, and we were able to break ground. And we had our first opening a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I saw the video.
Oh man,
it was amazing.
We had Alberts there. We had Ronnie Green. I mean, it really showed. I mean, what I've taken away from Nebraska is all that. I mean, the people, sports are great. You know, everyone gets behind the football team, but there's so much more that goes on there than people always see, right? And that's why, I mean, I love this state. I'll never leave this state. I'll never leave Nebraska, and I won't stop cheering for them, because that is what Nebraska is about. And so we got this playground built. It's ready to go. It's all open. I mean, if you guys ever have the opportunity to go down there, check it out. Anyone who's listening to this, I mean, take your kids there on a game day on a Saturday when they're playing at home, and spend $10 for a ticket and get in there and play, because that's a place that you can make some memories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And get some things going. So
Mike's tailgate spot is
Hey,
over.
there you go.
He's
Yeah,
over by in
And
bowling.
we're right
so-
there in left field. So
hey, stop
we're right there.
check it out, man.
I can't wait.
Check
I
it
really
out.
can't.
It's a blessing, man. I tell you what, the stuff that came out of that, it's cool to see. And we're blessed to have that to commemorate our boy, but it's also a blessing that people can go there and make their own memories with their kids that we did too.
Right.
I mean,
So-
it's amazing to think, he was here for a very short time on Earth, but
Yeah.
that thing will, as far as we know, will be there for a very long time and always have his name attached to it, and a beautiful way to commemorate his memory. Absolutely.
Amen.
Yeah.
Left an impact, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool stuff there. I mean,
That's
there's
sweet.
a lot of cool things.
Okay, so is there anything you had made a little notepad before you came on, because the No Block No Rock podcast is a very big deal.
Oh yeah. Hey, first
Top
guest
10
that brought his own
streaming,
notes.
The first guest that came in and he's like, Mike, Jared, Kyle.
Yep. Yep.
It was great.
Did his
I did my
homework before he
research,
got
yeah.
here,
We
and
felt
that's
really
the
good.
coolest thing ever.
We'll, we'll sign your notepad later. No,
There you go. Do it, guys. I'm collecting signatures. Let's do it.
I'll give you a lock of hair.
There you go.
My red hair. Is there anything that we wanted to talk about before we signed off? Anything that you just want to put out there on the airwaves?
Just fun stories. I mean, I always think about, fall camp. Fall camp is always those are the memories that are the most painful, but also the most fun. Because you are literally eating, drinking, and breathing football all day, every day there. I mean, you're doing 2 days and it's 100 degrees out.
No, it's
there.
awesome.
And
It's great.
That's where we call it the crucible, right? Like that's where guys are just getting boiled to a crisp, and you're trying not to cramp up. I mean, poor Jason Jankra, that poor guy, man. He would cramp up every single practice. So it was like they'd have like 10 IV bags just waiting for him. He'd cramp up.
It's our
We had
anchor,
these big
anchor
old-
bags.
Yeah, anchor bags. Right? I mean, it was a given thing that he'd do that. And then we had freaking horse stock tanks, like those big steel stock tanks, full of ice and water, and you just have to soak in there every single time. So you got 20, 30 guys sitting in the same tub after bleeding and sweating through a whole day
yeah.
of practice.
But that smelled good.
The
Oh
stench.
man, it was horrible. I still do it. When I went down there to visit for practice, I was like, oh, this brings back memories. Not so the best ones.
Painful memory.
But in that, I mean, it's like you show up at the stadium at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. You're in meetings, then you're at practice, then you get lunch, then you're in meetings, you're in film, you're in practice, you're prepping, and then you finish up, and you don't get out of there until like 9:30 or 10 at night. Sometimes even later. So guys would literally bring sleeping bags to nap in between meetings.
Mhm.
But my point of bringing this up is we're talking about leadership. We're talking about all that stuff. That's where the leaders were made, and that's where the leaders showed up. Okay. So we talk. You guys have had a couple walk-ons on, right? Hunter and Dylan Utter, right?
And
Great guys, right?
B. Riley. And
B. Riley, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Guys that proved why they showed up at Nebraska to try out, right? And that's the thing. I've got the most immense respect for anyone who walks on, because there are no accolades. There is nothing tying you to the program. And these guys show up and they've got a chip that's bigger than you wouldn't believe, and they'll let you know it. And that's what I loved about it. That's why I got to know Dylan Utter and Han on scout team. It was like you're in the thick with them and you're grinding through it. Well, number one walk-on that I can think of, I guess, pure grit, strength, and aggressiveness is Gangwish all the way. I mean, he was the guy who was so freaking annoying because he would go 110% every single day, every single second of practice. Didn't matter what you were doing. If you were in shells and you were just doing a walkthrough pregame, the guy is trying to get a highlight reel made. And so that's the type of guy he was. He just was black and white, fun guy to be around, right? When it was time to party, he'd party, right?
Yeah.
When it was time to work, he'd work. And in fall camp, I think it was my senior year, going into my senior year, we had a guy, Josh is his name, and everyone, we had like a piss break or something. Everyone goes to the bathroom. There's a big long line, and everyone's waiting. The line goes out the door. And this kid, I think it was his first year on there, and he comes walking in, and he's being goofy, right? But you're being goofy at 9:00 at night with a group of 105 guys that are pissed and tired and angry, and they're just trying to take a leak. And so I'm building this up way too much. End of the day, right? This guy cuts the line, and he gets up there at the urinal, and he's pissing, and everything just gets kind of quiet. Like some guys giggled, like they were like, "Oh, this kid's kind of being funny," but it gets dead quiet. And then Gangwish is like, what the F are you doing? Like just dead silent, like pure silence just splits it. And he's like, what the F are you doing? And the kid turns around and he's laughing. He's like, oh man, I got you guys. I'm cutting the line. And Jack went up, and I'm not kidding you. It was like a dad. He grabbed him by his neck and he slammed him up against the wall. And he held him there, and he let loose with some profanities. I can't even put on this because you won't be able to air the episode.
You can, but I mean,
man,
it's not necessary.
He let him know, and they got into a tussle. And I mean, you can't get into a fight with Jack because Jack's the guy. He is the old guy at the bar. Like you can't back him into a corner.
Right.
You're gonna lose. It doesn't matter. If
He's gonna find a way.
Pounds,
yeah.
He'll find a way to beat you. And that's what this kid did. I mean, he threw him up against the wall, and then he literally walked him out and threw him out of the bathroom. And that kid, he learned his place. To his credit, guy learned not to mess with Jack.
Never
That's just
again.
who he was. I mean, guys, he walked the walk. And man, I'll give Jack some credit, man. I loved, as much as I hated going against him, I loved going against him because the guy, it was, iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
Is all he was.
Who we have heard this story before.
Mm-hmm.
Who was it that
Yes.
told it? Was it Josh Mitchell?
You were telling this, and I'm like, I could have sworn
Sounded
someone said
familiar.
this.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We've heard
Yeah.
the story.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
because it's a big one.
Jack Gangwish has been mentioned 3 times on No Block No Rock.
And we still haven't got him on
Where
the pod.
is this guy?
Have you
Yeah.
messaged the gripper, man?
We tried.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll push it for you. I'll see if I can get him out and be like, Jack, come on, man. Everyone's talking about you. You got to give these
Yes,
guys.
is
what
he-
they want.
is
You
he
have to
still
do.
local?
Yeah.
Is he a local guy?
He is.
Okay,
Yeah.
just checking.
Yeah. He's still out there.
This is going to be like a new
Okay.
hashtag. It's like NBNR wants
Come
Jack.
on, get Jack out here.
Yeah,
Get
we
Jack out here.
need Jack. All right, Mike. Plug yourself. What are you doing now? Tell the listeners what you're doing now. Where can they find you on social media? Spit it all. Let's hear it.
All right. Well, social media is pretty easy. You just type in Mike Moudy and you'll find me at Mike Moudy 74 on Insta. If you want to be my friend, feel free to be my friend. My wife always
Be his
gives me
friend.
crap. She's like, who is this person that's following you? I'm like, I don't know, but I'll accept an invite, right?
Yeah.
So 'cause I don't post anything bad, so whatever. Not sure what my Twitter handle is. Facebook, just search it. If you want.
There's a 74. Mike
something
Moudy 74.
right?
Yeah.
I think that's my Insta and Facebook. So
Have you logged into Twitter recently?
I have Twitter, but it's mostly just to scroll through, see scores and all that stuff.
All right.
you know?
Like his
Well,
wife's
you
stuff.
might have to
Yeah.
use it tomorrow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll tweet it out.
We're
I'll
gonna
tweet out some
tag. We're gonna tag you and
His-
stuff. So
do it.
Yeah, his first tweet in like 2 years is gonna be because of
Oh
us.
god, that's gonna bring back some bad flashbacks and be like, I'm gonna see all these notifications going on. Oh shoot.
Mute.
Oh man. As for what I'm doing now, I mean, there's really 2 paths coming out of college ball. You either go to the NFL or you get in sales. So I'm in sales. I'm
so
in tech
NFL.
Sales.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I wish, guys, I wish I never made it that far, but I switched over and now I'm doing technology sales. So small to mid-sized businesses, helping them with payroll and HR and all that with a company called Paycor, based out of Cincinnati. We're here local. We got a couple guys here local, and yeah, I mean, if anyone has any help with need any help with bookkeeping, payroll needs, or anything, and would love to help you out. So feel free to look up my contact. Add me on LinkedIn if you want to add me on LinkedIn. That's the
Hey,
social media I
okay.
use. There you
That's the best one to use.
go. LinkedIn.
When you become
Yeah.
like when we're adulting now, unless you have a podcast because you're dumb. Grown-ups
Hello.
use LinkedIn.
Some people try and turn it into the Twitter. I'm like, man, no, this is
Hey,
all
I wanna
business.
send you
Let's
a
keep
private
this business.
message.
Right.
Yeah.
Want to meet me at the bar?
Let's keep this professional, guys. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
Add me on LinkedIn. But yeah, if you guys have any needs or that, let me know.
Mike,
Happy to help.
let me just say, being in the teaching profession, myself, there's plenty of teaching jobs out there, Mike.
There you go.
And I'm saying this because you wanted to be an English teacher.
I did. That's where I started.
I'm not going to ask you what happened, what veered you off into the right course.
Well, you want to know what it did? It was practice, man. You couldn't get a word in edgewise trying to do that and practice. I mean, I don't know how guys do it. They get that teaching degree, and I don't know.
To be fair, like you said, a lot of guys go into sales or they go into real estate.
There you go. Real estate,
insurance.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Well, not to cut you off,
No.
but Mike, this is kind of like my favorite segment.
Oh, his favorite
at
part.
the end of every episode.
Yeah.
All right.
We can't thank you enough for obviously being on NBNR, but obviously everything that you've done with, ACE's impact and everything like that, your connection with the university and all that good stuff. And it's always amazing to us, everybody that sits at this table with us and just has an hour-long conversation about Nebraska athletics and, you know, your experience. It never fails. It never fails us to realize that, like, the impact that all of the former players and things like that have on the state. People coming from out of state, you know, and then residing here and staying here and continuing to make an impact for the state of Nebraska.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just fantastic, and it's something that's so cool that we get to sit here and just talk to you and just get to listen to your story, and it's something that the listeners love, and it doesn't get past us that, you know, you're taking your time out just to have a conversation. So we really appreciate it.
And I appreciate it too, guys. It's been fun. And I was thinking about it kind of leading up to this when I said, yeah, I'll be on. Just, it was nice kind of doing some reminiscing. So I guarantee these guys that come on, I mean, the guys past and present that are jumping on this thing, it's fun. I mean, it was fun kind of going down nostalgia lane,
Yeah,
right?
it's fun.
Hey, there we go. Let's
It's
dust off the
fun.
old memories and see what we got.
Yeah.
All right.
So thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man.
And I couldn't close it any better than Kyle did. Have a good night.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike.
Hey, thank you guys.
Appreciate
Take
it.
care.